Hey, Chance96 here from the video review. This time we have the Avengers Age of Ultron Revoltech Ultron figure. So, yeah, this is a figure that really, when, it was first shown, when I first saw pictures of it, I was really quite taken back. It's obvious I don't collect anything from this company. This is my first Revoltech figure, and I really didn't plan to start collecting this company, but when I saw the figure, I was really astonished by not only the amount of articulation it seemed to have, because, there's a lot of companies that have great articulation, but specifically in the actual design of their Ultron. The movie Ultron, just the Ultron Prime version, it was alright. I felt like it was quite lackluster as far as it was a quite skinny mold, which I'm fine with, but I didn't like that he didn't appear as menacing as he should have been, and I think that this figure actually completely fixes that. It still has his slender physique, yet gives him broad shoulders and a much more menacing face sculpt in general, which I really like. So overall, this was a figure that just won me over purely by seeing it. This isn't like a toy line they collect, and because they were doing an Ultron figure, I bought it. This figure itself was just so nice that I did decide to get it, and I'm very happy I did so. I did purchase it on amiami.com. I don't remember how much it costs. It's around like $50, I think, and a well worth it price in my opinion. Just going over the box very quickly, we do have an open section where you can see the figure. Nice picture of the figure on the side. This is one of my favorite images of the figure. One of the images that really won me over on it. And then you do have multiple different images of him on the back, as well as some descriptions and I guess a warning or something. Obviously, this is all written in a different language, so I can't read it. Overall, box is pretty nice. I do like the fact that they do have that concept art basically in the back there of all the Ultron Sentry fighting the Avengers. They went with a portion of that poster where it's just Ultron figures, or just Ultron characters, and not the Avengers themselves. Alright, going over the figure. So this is really an impressive figure. I got it and I was quite blown away. Let's go over the actual sculpt, and then we'll get into its features, accessories, and the, most importantly, on this figure at least, the articulation. Alright, really want to get you a good look at this head sculpt. So the head sculpt is quite nice. I really am impressed with it. I'm not quite sure 100% what they did stylized-wise to make this figure, or this representation of Ultron, look so much cooler than the one in the actual movie. I do think that there is definitely, the face is in no small part of that. I think that they have sculpted the armor around the eyes to be a bit more on a slope, so he has an angrier look just in general. No matter where his eyes are, he does look quite menacing, as well as I think that the way they've sculpted the mouth too does give him almost like that kind of scowling look, almost like he's kind of grunting in anger type of look. And I really do like the head sculpt in general. I think that it does look quite nice, and it's very rounded, just a really well sculpted face. As you can see, there's plenty of detail there. You do have the little cylinders on the cheeks, and the eyes are red with a ring of white and then a white pupil in the middle. Going further down, as you can see, the high quality of detail completely persists. I do also really like to point out the section just right there, kind of in his chest there. I think that there's some wonderful hidden detail in there, and it is black too, so it even blends in even more, but it is such a really nice amount of detail that I did find it worth it to point that out specifically. Really nice, just level of detail throughout. Of course, I mean, it completely represents Ultron Prime in the movie. However, it does have a bit of a stylized flair, particularly in the head sculpt. And then I do find that the shoulders seem to be more broad than the one in the movie, or at least more broad than the Ultron Prime. It has a bit more of an Ultimate Ultron type of look. As you can see, the detail is quite nice. And we do have a few red highlights. For the most part, it's just completely silver. Some of the joints are a more just gray, while the majority of the figure is a really nice, high, shiny silver. And then in between the cracks of the armor, it's done in kind of a really dark gray, which is nice, as you can see there, and of course, like I showed you already in there. It kind of makes it look more like it's inset into his body and not so much just another piece of his armor. It looks like it's actually inside, based on the fact that they have colored it in a darker color, which makes it look like it's set in more into his body, which is really cool. I think that's a nice, clever idea, and really adds some depth to the figure. As you can see, just really quickly, the red. Quite nice. You know, they didn't go too overboard with the red. Obviously, they could have done a lot more to make it look like it's actually lights, but I think that it would just become too overpowering in that sense, and I do like that they have stuck more with just the silver. Going over articulation, or first, actually, let me go over our accessories. He doesn't come with too much, but he definitely does come with a fair amount of stuff. He comes with 2 sets of hands. You have 2 fists and then 2 open hands. I have both of them on him at the moment. There's the extra pick. Sorry about that, I accidentally hit the power button on the camera. But I really do like the fact that the open hand is very much like a claw hand. It can be used as an expression like he's angry, you know, or it can be used as actually like shooting out a laser from his fingers like he does in the movie. And I really do like both of the hands. Of course, you know, some more hands would have been cool, but I think that we have the basics, because either you're going to want him with fist hands or with the, you know, kind of very anger type of style of hands. It would have been really nice to get some articulated fingers. However, it is unnecessary to do that, especially for this size of a figure. You know, articulated fingers is really rare. I don't really see that ever. He does have a kind of blast, I guess you could say. Like he is shooting out the laser, or whatever you call it from the movie, where he kind of pulls people back, and he does, you know, hit Iron Man with it. The way that's stuck on is there are just a few holes just there, and it just kind of pops. You just have to put his fingers in the actual holes there, and it should stay. It's not like a super good fit. I think that they could find a better way to attach this to the hand, or what I would have liked is just to get a whole nother hand with a larger blast on it. It's such a, yeah, and it falls off easily, but it's such a small blast that it really doesn't look necessarily like it is a blast. It just kind of looks like a covering for the fingers. It's kind of strange, actually. And then he does come with a pick to move his eyes, because it does have articulated eyes, which is very impressive. I'll show you how that works briefly. And then comes with a standard Revoltech base. Just a clear base, as you can see, and it does have a pole. It has a hinge at the base, hinge up there, hinge right there, and then the little claw sections are on a hinge as well. So overall, it's a well articulated base, and really helps with the poses. It's not incredibly strong, so I mean, it will hold the figure, but you might have to fiddle with it a bit to get to hold the weight of this figure if you don't have his feet touching the ground whatsoever. If you do want him in more of a flight stance, or like he's being hit back or something like that, you will have to the base might not be as strong as you need it to be, but it is a really nice base, and it does help the posing for sure. The main feature of this figure, or the best part of it in my opinion, is the fact that it does have a tremendous amount of articulation. Probably one, if, you know, I would say it's the best articulated figure I've ever owned. I have to say, it just has some incredible and unique articulation points, which are quite special. So let's get into it. The head, he has a ball jointed head. It is on a slight ratchet, but it's a very minute ratchet. Most of the joints on this figure are ratcheted joints, just so you know, which is nice because it means that they won't get loose, which is good. Overall, I do like ratcheting joints on a figure like this. So as you can see, he definitely has a decent amount of motion there. He can look up quite far, and he can look, you know, down not too much, but mainly just kind of leveling out. But what's great is he also has articulation at the bottom of the neck, and he can look down very far, and he can kind of straighten out like that. So you can have him really crouched over, looking just absolutely just evil and menacing, and it just looks awesome. I mean, that just looks creepy. Really neat. I do like that neck joint a ton, and it can go side to side there too, so you can give him a bit of that tilted head look like he usually does in the movie, which is really cool. He has a double ball jointed, double ball hinge shoulders, which is quite nice, as you can see, and they are both on ratchets. You can have it where his arm is lifted quite far from his actual body. That's just how good the articulation is. And obviously, just whenever you articulate him, you do want to just hinge that to a point where it does look like his shoulder is attached to his body and not and isn't just kind of like way off like that, because that looks strange. But overall, that point of articulation is excellent. I have heard of people having the arm that pops off because it is just on a peg. It's happened to me once. I think it was this arm that actually did come off, but I just popped it right back in, and it was as good as new, so no issues. So if that might be a problem in the future, like it happening constantly, but I don't see that really happening very often. It certainly only happened to me once, so I wouldn't consider it a big concern, but I have heard some people talk about it. He has ball hinge elbow, as well as a ball joint at the bottom there. So there's a ball hinge and there is another ball joint at the bottom. So just the ball joint at the bottom can do this, basically. It can hinge that far, and then the main ball joint can hinge up that far. So he does have some nice articulation there. Would have been cooler if he could lift his arm up even further, almost like a double ball joint or double hinge, but he does have an extreme amount in the elbow, so it's really not necessary. Ball hinge wrists. He has a upper torso swivel, as well as he has a ball hinge at the base of the, I guess, waist, or at the lower torso there, which is excellent. You can have him completely straight up like this, or what's really fantastic is you can actually have him crunch an extreme amount. As you can see, I've never had a figure with a better abdomen joint than that. It's just absolutely excellent. And then with the extra articulation from the neck, he can look down so far. It's just absolutely insane. So that is really fantastic, and it helps so much with poses, especially if you have him crouching down, or I like to display him sitting a lot because I have a nice chair that he looks great in, and that crunch really helps him sit extremely naturally in the seat. And overall, love that articulation right there. He has ball hinge at the thighs. The thighs, there's so much paneling in this section that it looks like there isn't much articulation, but it actually is pretty decent. He can raise his leg by that much. And as you can see, same on this side. And then he does, of course, have a swivel there. You know, if there's any place where he could have had better articulation, I guess it would be in the thighs. I would like it to hinge out, but also be able to move in. And it doesn't really, like, if you hinge it out, it has to be at this angle. It's not a huge deal, but it is something to note. That's the only place that I would have liked to see a kind of different style of articulation, or at least have it swivel, or at least swivel more easily. He has ratcheting ball hinge knee, which is quite nice, and same thing on the ankle, as well as a pivot. As you can see, it can hinge down quite far. And then he has a toe hinge. So articulation is superb. Really, he has an amazing amount of joints, and then all of the joints really aren't restricted, which is extremely impressive. I would say he is easily the best articulated figure I've ever owned, like I said, which just makes posing him a absolute riot. I've had a ton of fun posing this guy. If you want to see some of the poses I've put him in, definitely check out my Instagram page. Same name as YouTube, Mr. Transformers 96. And I've been posting a lot of pictures of him, and I'm going to continue posting a lot of pictures of him because of his superb articulation. It's just excellent. Just so you know, the chair that I was talking about that I like to put him in, he looks awesome in this. It's a chair from the Select Doctor Doom figure, and he just looks awesome. Like, he does sit in the chair somewhat similar to that in the movie, and it's a great throne for him. In the scale wise, he's basically a 6-inch figure, but obviously because Ultron is larger than your average person in the movie, he isn't a 1 in 12 scale figure, although he's 1 in 12 scale to a normal human. Comparing him to a Marvel Legends figure like the Iron Man from Age of Ultron, as you can see, he is slightly taller than him, which is a shame because obviously posing them together, they don't fit, but they're not from the same company, so you shouldn't expect them to fit in scale with each other. But even figure arts, he looks pretty good with, I believe. They are slightly shorter than Marvel Legends. However, I don't think it's still not in scale. I don't know if there's another toy line that makes figures that are specifically in scale with this guy. I'm not quite sure about that. To show you how the eyes work really fast, as you can see, you just pop the head off. It's on a little peg there. Easy to pop off. Let's get some good light. Alright, as you can see, you do have the two kind of red balls there, and they do have a peg in them. And then you take the pick, and you can use it to just put it in the actual peg there and rotate it around. It is kind of hard to do because they're separated, so you know, once you move one, you have to check and see where it's at, and then you have to try to move the other one and try to match it. So it does become actually quite difficult to get them to look natural and have them both straight, so that he's not cross-eyed or anything like that. So it does take some work and some finagling, but once you do it and you get it in a good position, it does look great. And it's quite easy to do. It's not like the ball joints are super stiff or anything, so it's hard to move them. You can move them quite easily. It's just, you know, it takes some work getting them in a perfect position, and that was something very impressive. It's something that I think is completely unnecessary with this figure, but is completely welcome, and I'm very happy that he does have the moving eye articulation. Definitely unique. So this figure, I would say, is absolutely excellent. I think the actual design of it is fantastic, and it's a better design than the one in the movie, although it is very close to the movie one. The paint and sculpt in general, I think, is great, and then of course the articulation is out of this world. I absolutely love this figure. I would be shocked if he does not make it on my top 10 favorite figures of the year in 2016, and you know, I hope he doesn't, though, because if he doesn't, that means I have 10 figures that are better than this guy, which I just don't see happening this year. So really am excited to see more from this company. They do some Marvel stuff, but I feel like they don't do much, and I would really love to see more from them, and I definitely start collecting Revoltech very seriously in the future if they do keep coming out with figures as good of quality as this guy, and price-wise, it's not insane, you know. It's a 6-inch figure that's extremely well made, and it's $50, not too much actually for what you get and compared to a lot of the other stuff. So there you go, that's my video review of the Avengers Age of Ultron Revoltech Ultron figure. Thanks so much for watching.